Hi there, I am the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I offer this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. And it's titled, Spring is Coming, for Hope is Always Sprouting. And I'm going to begin with a kind of a recasting of the 23rd Psalm by Kevin Tarser. And it's kind of recasting what he describes as the language of love. So this is Psalm 23 for this moment. May I remember in this tender moment that love is my guide, always shepherding me toward ways of openness and compassion. I have what I need, really, with love at my side, above me, below me, in front of me, behind me. Inside every cell of me, love infused everywhere. Just when the weight of the world I inhabit threatens to drop me in place and press my hope down into the ground beneath me, love invites me to rest for a gentle while and leads the centre of my soul to the quiet, still, restoring waters nearby that somehow I had not noticed. And so love quietly sets me once again on its tender and demanding path. Even when the walls close around me and the cries of death echo through untold corners, gripping my heart with fear and sadness, I know that all will be well, that I will be well, when love whispers near to me, glints at the corner of my eye, rests with gentle and persistent invitation upon my shoulders. Yes, love blesses me, even as the sources and symbols of my pain look on. Love blesses me from its infinite well, and I turn and notice that goodness and kindness and grace follow me everywhere I go. I live in a house of love, love that will not let me go. I live in a house of love and always will. Do you think that's a rather lovely, a beautiful recasting of the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, recast in the language of love? Now, some other words came to me the other day from Robert Browning's poem, Home Thoughts from Abroad. I heard something, a song, that brought these words to me later. That's the wise thrush. He sings each song twice over, lest you should think he could never recapture the first fine, careless rapture. Now, my friend pointed out that was the song of the thrush that I could hear as I sat in silent meditation with many others as the sun came up on Tuesday morning. It was the first time that I'd heard that bird song for a while. I thought to myself that it was perhaps a sign of the spring that is beckoning, of spring that is singing. I am pleased I was able to hear it. It has felt like a long winter and I yearn for spring. I've had some health issues, which is quite rare for me actually, and seem surrounded by grief. Every week it seems someone has left the circle of life, and it's weighed heavy at times. So it was beautiful to hear the song of the thrush that cold Tuesday morning. It reminded me that all is well, that the song of life is always singing. May you hear it. I was full of song myself that morning as the evening before I enjoyed a wonderful night singing with the choir that I've joined. Despite the weather, there was a sense of spring soon to come. Despite the troubles in the world around me and the wider world, my goodness, how it's easy to get caught up in the horror. But there is a sense of hope. I felt this sense of renewal within me and all around me, despite the very real troubles we all live with and that we all witness if we don't live with. There was a real sense of hope and a real sense of renewal, the sense of spring, of new life, new birth. In the springtime of the year, silver buds of hope appear. This Sunday, on Sunday, the 1st of February, is traditionally considered the beginning of spring. And there are signs all around us. The day after, Monday the 2nd of February, is Candlemass, which was officially the end of the Christmas season. If we go back centuries, actually traditionally this was always considered the end of Christmas and not the feast of the Epiphany, what is called the 12th day of Christmas. In the church calendar at least anyway. That Christmas ended on Candlemass, the 2nd of February. I've seen other signs of hope this week too, suggesting that the end of winter and the beginning of a new spring is coming. Wednesday was the most beautiful day, and the weather wasn't so bad either. And there are new shoots coming through too. And the snowdrops, they are everywhere. And of course the snowdrop is considered the symbol of hope. Legend has it that they appeared as a symbol of hope to add, it's said in a story anyway, they appeared after Adam and Eve had been expelled from Eden. This is a legend that developed over the centuries. Eve was about to give up all hope that the winter would never end, but an angel appeared and transformed some snowflakes into the flower that is the snowdrop, showing that winter will eventually come to an end. And the snowdrop, of course, is linked to the purification associated with Candlemass. As the old rhyme goes, the snowdrop in purest white array first rears her head in Candlemass day. And going on from that, the 2nd of February is also Groundhog Day, which is another sign of the measure of how long the winter is going to be. And I will be keeping my eye out. You can watch a feed live from Puxatawny in Pennsylvania on the 2nd of February. I will keep an eye out to see if the groundhog sees his shadow. If he does, it means 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't, then spring is here. I know it's not a scientific method, but it's a nice little bit of winter fun, don't you think? And if you've never seen the film with Andy McDowell and Bill Murray, it's a great film, by the way, I would recommend it to you. It is actually a deeply spiritual film, despite it appearing like a Hollywood romantic comedy with a hint of Mr. Scrooge thrown in. But it's deeply spiritual in the fact that it symbolises the cycle of life and the possibility always available as we go through the cycles of life of redemption, of enlightenment. There is always possibility, you see. There is endless hope. We just go through the cycle and one day transformation comes. Now, the day after Groundhog Day or Candlemass Day is the 3rd of February, and that's also an important day, for that is Elmo's birthday. Did you know that? Elmo, that simple and lovable character from Sesame Street. And I love Elmo's simple philosophy of life. As he says, Elmo thinks it's important to be kind, because if you're kind to somebody, then they'll be kind to somebody, and it goes on and on and on. Sorry for the bad impression. I think we should all be a little bit more like Elmo, for the world needs more of Elmos, such people to plant seeds everywhere that they go. Spread a bit of love. Don't let the other energy take control of our lives or dominate what we take in. Spring is coming. There are many flowers and buds appearing, and I've seen a few gifts of flowers around too. Last Sunday, when I arrived at Queen's Road in Urmston, there was a beautiful array of tulips left in a vase. And when I arrived, no one seemed to know who had left them there. Nobody was owning up anyway. I was a bit puzzled. And then just as the service was about to begin and I was doing the announcements, including about these flowers, I did notice a tiny little green note has been left with them. I wouldn't have seen it, I don't think, if I'd not. I just kind of glanced and saw it then and went over and took a picture of it actually, and then shared what the words were. And the note read, "For Derek, a special man who was loved by all who knew him." Now the flowers were left by Mrs. Hare, as there's the girls of Urmston and some of the boys like to call her Gwyneth Hare, who runs the Gwyneth Hare School of Dance in the church. In fact, it's primarily used for her school throughout the week, and she's known Derek for decades and loved him dearly, like so many of us did and do. And I've been thinking an awful lot of Derek this week. He meant so much to the wider Urmston community, as well as to his family and we at Queen's Road. Derek had a wonderful, friendly and natural welcoming quality. The kind of person who just put you at ease in his presence. And we talked many, many, many times over the years, and he could never have been more supportive or encouraging of me and my ministry. The last time we spoke, just a few days before he died actually, he thanked me for the worship that he'd shared with me over the 15 or so years. And what he said was that what I created was always felt very relatable, that it spoke to him personally, that the stories I told had the capacity to reach into the heart, I guess. So he was helping me and encouraging me right to the end. He was the kind of man that brought hope in the winter time, just like the words of his favourite hymn, which we will sing at his funeral, and we will sing up. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Yeah, a song of hope, of rose in the winter time. I recently conducted the funeral of a friend, Carla, someone I have known for 20 years. A wonderful woman who, like Derek, was a symbol of hope, of love and service. I went to see her at the hospice the night before she died, just as I'd seen Derek actually on the day before he died. I did not know when I saw them both that this was their final night. I don't know if they did or not. My friend had called me to see her to make plans for her funeral. Although before we got down to discussing the matter, she had one or two other important matters that she had to attend to for other people. She didn't want to leave any loose ends before she died. She wanted to make sure things were okay for her children primarily, I think. So I had to take I obviously didn't have priority, it was beautiful to observe this person, knowing they were dying, but still thinking of what her responsibilities to others were. Her service was deeply moving, and it spoke powerfully of her spirit. Yes, she gave so much to many, whilst also enjoying her life to the fullest. She was a woman of great courage and an inspiration to many. Several of the women that she helped over the years will pass on her legacy to many, many more. They will continue to plant the seeds of hope that she helped to bring to flower in them. Carla and Derek will not get to see this springtime, but the seeds that they shared in their time, they will be planted, and many of them will grow. Will they blossom? Will they grow? We who plant the seed must know. We never know the impact that we make upon the lives of others. We can begin chains of reactions in the hearts and minds of others. We have that capacity in us. But we never fully know what the impact will be. But it matters, and that's why I say everything matters. Every thought, every feeling, every interaction, it matters, it really does. It may not take seed immediately what we do. It may not go anywhere, or seemingly so, but in time, some of it will, and it will make an impact. There is no neutrality in life as much as we would like it that way at times, I'm sure. These later days of winter will eventually turn to spring. Even if the Groundhog claims we've got 6 more weeks of winter, eventually even this winter will turn to spring, and the seeds we plant, they will grow. Look around you for the seeds of hope that will become the new shoots all around us. Hope springs eternal, and we do not seem too far from spring. The seeds are there, planted beneath the earth, waiting to give birth. And I've been thinking about these seeds that are planted, how they lay there for so long. And there are lessons to learn from them. They lay there buried, surrendered to the process and that's yet to come to them. When they will flower and flourish, we can all share. And like those seeds, there is so much that's buried within us, waiting to be born. Might not be born today, but someday. Might not be born in our lifetime. It may be born when we're gone. You don't get to see the promised land. Moses didn't either, did he? After 40 years. But he sent his people forward, telling them to choose life. A song of hope on his last sermon. And there are signs of hope all over the place. May we nurture them, bring them to fruit for all to share. But sometimes these things lie hidden and dormant, waiting for the right time, for the new spring, for the new hope, for despair. Brings to mind a favourite little gem of mine, but I've shared it before. Something I came across many years ago. And it's taken from a book by Linda Hogan called Dwellings, A Spiritual History of the Living World. And it goes something like this. Seed. There are so many beginnings. In Japan, I recall, there were wild flowers that grew in the far cold region of mountains. The bricks of Hiroshima down below were formed of clay from these mountains, and so the walls of houses and shops held the dormant trumpet flower seeds. But after one group of humans killed another with the explosive power of life's smallest elements split wide apart, the mountain flowers began to grow. Out of the destruction and bomb heat and the falling of walls, the seeds opened up and grew. What a horrible beauty. The world going its own way, growing without us. But perhaps this too speaks of survival, of hope beyond our time. Yes, there are seeds of hope waiting to be born, and there are shoots already showing. There are many dark days to come through, of course there are, but there is hope beyond this time, in the not too distant future. The hope has to be there growing in our hearts and our souls, or we won't plant the seeds. And that doesn't mean that there's not horror and destruction, of course there is. But the horror and destruction need not stop us from seeing the goodness in our time and in our space. We should look for the examples, look for those who give their lives for others, those who live from their hearts, those that were the great examples that planted the seeds of hope in our hearts. Never let that go. Tender shoots thirst for the sun, surging with each day begun. Banish darkness, hate and fear. Golden fruit will soon appear. Banish darkness, hate and fear. Golden fruit will soon appear. It's still there despite the tragedy in life, despite the hate, despite the suffering. And despite all that, it isn't all that is. That just seems to take all the attention. You see, there is a great deal of quiet goodness, but we don't celebrate it, do we? We never give it publicity. As they say, they rarely print the good news. And why are only negative things given the name radical? What about radical decency or radical goodness or radical okayness? Why can't we give that publicity? You know, many years ago, in the summer of 2015 it was actually, I once heard a wonderful speech on radical okayness. It was given by the father of the bride at my nephew Joe's wedding, just a few months after Joe's dad, Alan, our eldest brother, died. And when I heard that speech, it caught me in this deep place, deep in the soul of me. I remember him talking about the joys and sorrows of life and the pains and the struggles that we all go through. And then he talked about an abiding love that is present in life, a love that can hold us and sustain us through all of this. He named it radical okayness. Great phrase, isn't it? It really caught the heart of me, you know. It really got me. It awakened the soul of me. I thought, yes, that's it. And as I thought about it, other words came to me that were referenced in that recasting of the 23rd Psalm. Words of Julian of Norwich. And those words were, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things, they will be well. And by the way, sadly, the woman who wrote the song based on these words, a beautiful song, based on these words from St. Julian, was Meg Barnhouse. She died, sadly, a couple of weeks ago. Meg Barnhouse was a singer-songwriter and a Unitarian Universalist minister in the States. And I first heard this song at summer school some 16 years ago. I was just walked into the Sun Lounge, I think it was, or into the lounge. I think it was the lounge, actually. I can picture it now. I can picture Jean Mason and two young women that were helping out with the looking after the children, really, Eloise and Claire. And Jean was playing this song, All Will Be Well, by Meg Barnhouse, based on words by Julian of Norwich. The two young people were struggling with anxiety, I think, or something anyway. And there was Jean passing on love, giving from her heart to others, something she did wherever she went. She was another one of those great people who gave so much to others, who left a beautiful legacy behind, but they didn't do it in a big showy way. And that moment in the lounge at Great Hucklow, there in their corner by the door as you come through, that moment has stayed with me all these years, despite Jean dying many, many years ago herself, maybe 3 years after that event. What a wonderful person she was. She gave hope when hope was hard to find. It is easy to look at the world through eyes of despair and say that it is not okay, this world, that there is something rotten in life. There is much that is not okay. I am sure we could all make a long list of all that is wrong with life, and particular all that is wrong with humanity. So yes, it's easy to say nothing is okay. It's easy to fall into the Hobbesian nightmare and believe as he said, and the life of man solitary, poor, nasty, brutish and short. Or in the words of the confession in the Book of Common Prayer, that there is no health in us. Yes, human beings do some terrible things to one another. We've seen it again these last few days. And yet, mostly, on the whole, what do I see? I see goodness. And it does seem that when the circle goes round, in the end, goodness does seem to prevail somehow. I do see an okayness in life, when we choose life, that is. When we bring this okayness to life. But we have to see the whole of life first. And by bearing witness to this okayness, I suspect that radical okayness is about bringing this to life in our lives. And when we do, the kingdom of love is born in this life. And I see this every day in the ordinary people who I share this world with. You see, we just need to live in and through hope. We need to be hope. We need to say yes to life. Just because there are problems and suffering in life, it does not mean that we should turn away from life and lose all hope. It does not mean we must make despair the orientation of the heart. For what kills us is cynicism. Giving up on the possibility of what we can make of things in this life. What kills us is cynicism. And a lack of cynicism is something I saw so powerfully in both of my friends, Carla and Derek. Different people, but there was no cynicism. They lived with an enthusiasm for life and for other people. Yes, they had lived through challenges, through deep, real troubles, but both lived in and by hope. And they certainly lived without cynicism. We need to say yes to life, to possibility, to the hope in our own hearts. We need to keep on planting seeds. Let us follow the example of those who lived by and through hope. For hope is, as Elizabeth Barrett wrote in her Origami Emotion by Elizabeth Barrett. Hope is folding paper cranes, even when your hands get cramped and your eyes tired, working past blisters and paper cuts simply because something in you insists on opening its wings. Yes, it's a long cold winter, and we're not through the winter yet. That said, there are signs of hope all around us, and there is something beautiful within us, something beautiful waiting to be born, to be given birth to, in the mangers of our own hearts. Let us nurture them and share them with each other, encourage each other to do so too. Let us become symbols of hope to one another, just like the song thrush I heard on Tuesday morning, or the simple gifts of tulips left on the table at Queen's Road, or the loving example of Derek and Carla, or in the natural beauty waiting to come alive all around us. Let us live by the spirit of hope. Let us plant those seeds, for it matters that you know it. Amen. It matters that we all know it. It really does matter. For everything is sacred. Everything matters. Every thought, every feeling, every word, and every deed. So I'm going to end this devotion with a few words of blessing. We need to bless more. We can all bless. We bless when we give ourselves wholeheartedly to life. Our eyes and minds turn toward the ordinary. Return to our lives, carry the blessings of the sacred. Let us return with at least some of the understanding, hope and courage, and drop it into the confusion of the world. Nourish the seed that might grow as a tree of life, giving shelter to the weary and hope to the despairing. May we be ourselves a branch of the tree of life. Let us do so in all that we feel, all that we think, all that we say, and all that we do. Amen.